Okay, look, August 8th was when the devastating fires hit Lahaina. Lahaina is a community on the island of Maui, which is, of course, part of the Hawaiian island chain. And this is the most devastating wildfire last year to hit that great state. And it also the most devastating wildfire in U.S. history to date. Now, look, um, every institution failed the people of Lahaina. Every institution failed the communities and the culture that was there. And now, right now, there's talk about donation doubts. And this really hurts to talk about. I don't want to bring this up here, but let's go ahead and at least pull up this video here. This is from, again, a local Hawaiian News Now. They are local media, but let's go ahead and play this video.
First at 4:30, those in charge of the biggest fundraiser for aid to Maui faced tough questions last night from Lahaina residents who are wondering why they haven't seen the help.
The Hawaii Community Foundation's Maui Strong Fund collected almost $200 million and says it's trying to be clear about where the money is going. Daryl Huff has the story.
As donors around the world looked for how to help Maui, the trusted Hawaii Community Foundation stepped up with its Maui Strong Fund. But last night, it was clear that that trust is wearing thin for some. At the groundbreaking for a 450-unit temporary housing project, the Hawaii Community Foundation was front and center after pitching in $40 million. Since the fire, the foundation has collected $195 million from more than 245,000 individual and corporate donors. It's spent $109 million of that with housing and direct financial aid to survivors getting the most. Aid to children and family, food and resource hubs, and healthcare are also priorities, with more than $80 million still in reserve.
Over the coming months, we're going to see disaster case management services reaching the household and even at the individual level to ensure that everyone affected is heard from, their needs documented, and their views considered.
But at the county's weekly community meeting, live streamed on Facebook, foundation executives heard about the doubts, even from Lori Leigh DeGama, an advisor to Mayor Bisson.
We know there's been a lot of fraud. So what are you guys doing to investigate to make sure that it is going out to the community and not into people's personal pockets?
Great question. We take that really, really seriously. We try to do a very deep, thorough due diligence.
Also in the bleachers, a mental health worker who said the foundation's mental health services were bypassing local therapists.
Several colleagues of mine emailed, we called, and never got a response.
The foundation depends on nearly 200 nonprofit partners and agencies to provide the services, which may be part of the confusion.
All these nonprofits that have applied, are we supposed to be chasing them? Are they supposed to be chasing us? Because I don't feel all of us have gotten all the resources that they're supposed to be offering.
Yes, we are encouraging them to do more of their own marketing, to do outreach. We tell them all to get on to 211 so that they are a referral to anyone that calls. And they are responsible for getting word out.
The audience also needed reassurance that all Maui Strong funds are going to Maui. The foundation said yes, it is not taking its usual administrative fee from the Maui donations. Daryl?
So, hearing this, there's obviously a lot of confusion. I know you've been on the ground not once but twice in Maui. This comes as no surprise, especially when a natural disaster hits. I mean, hell, you have the people of Flint, Michigan still wondering when they're going to get clean drinking water after so many years when that story broke. And then the people of East Palestine, Ohio, when they were exposed to dangerous chemicals, still exposed to dangerous chemicals, by the way, with the aftermath of that explosion. And now the people of Lahaina wondering, okay, where do they need to go? Because there seems to be a lack of communication, which again, kind of goes back to the point of what happened when the wildfires started. Every institution failed the people in regards to them evacuating safely from these dangerous fires that cost the lives of so many people. Pasi, your thoughts?
Well, this is what happens when you get these big organizations and big money gets floating around. Everybody gets their grubby hands in there. Listen, we've done a story before. We've had Ellie Cochran on the show. Ellie Cochran happens to be the state assembly representative for Lahaina. Now, she's only talked to the governor once. She's talked to the mayor twice since the fires. Remember, she is the state representative for Lahaina itself. You would think that the governor and the mayor would have her on speed dial and talking to her constantly to make sure that the people in Lahaina, the people who suffered the most, get the best help possible. That's not the case. There is big money involved here. Now, there's two different groups there that I've heard about. People talk about Maui Strong versus Lahaina Strong. Lahaina Strong is a group I met, boots on the ground, actually helping the people, food kitchens, the whole 9 yards. This is why we went to Maui in the first place, is because we wanted to figure out how people could help these people directly. That's why we went to these distribution centers. We highlighted their Give, Send, Goes or their GoFundMes so we can get the money directly into the hands of the people that need it most. You're going to always have organizations that come in when these situations happen to try to take advantage of it. And it seems like, we have to get more answers. And I'm going to go out and seek more answers from people who understand what's going on from Maui Strong. But when I see a picture of the mayor there, I automatically start scratching my head and wondering what's really, really going on. I've heard a lot of talks about this before. We saw the thing with Oprah and The Rock, when it comes to organizations kind of taking off money and putting it into their own pockets. And it seems like this might be one of those organizations as well that's doing the same. Whenever there's going to be a disaster, there's going to be organizations willing to take advantage of it and get a lot of money off the backs of those who suffered and who are suffering most. The question I have is, it's over a year and you're now finally breaking ground on temporary housing. Like, when is that going to be done? This should have been done immediately. At the end of the day, when I went to Maui, the thing I wanted to do is to make sure that we can find a way, regardless of what happened, regardless how the fire started, regardless of the breakdown in services, we wanted to make sure that the people of Maui can stay in Maui, right? What is Hawaii without Hawaiians? To this day, we're hearing this story, and I asked Ellie Cochran about this, that state representative. Almost a family every single day is leaving Maui. One family every single day. That is catastrophic failure, right? Because Maui's not a very high populated place. And right now, it seems, when I talk to people who are still on the island, I talked to somebody who was on the island yesterday, we were talking, it seems like that the economy itself has been shut down. They are doing everything they can to divert people away from Maui. The message they sent in the get-go, the message the governor sent, was very, very bad. Even in places like Hana, which is the other side of the island from where Lahaina is, they're suffering. So it seems like this is a well-managed gentrification of sorts. They wanted these people out of there. They're accomplishing that, and big money's coming there and buying up a lot of property. Well, the people who suffered most are not getting any justice or help whatsoever. So I understand when you see a group of people sitting together questioning what's going on with Maui Strong, because they're taking away money that could be going elsewhere that could actually be helping the people, and they're diverting it into people's pockets, greedy people's pockets. And that's the big issue, what's going on with Maui right now.
And I want to pull this up here. I actually had a friend who is from Hawaii actually just private messaged me this on one of my social platforms. She survived the Maui wildfires. She couldn't survive the year after. So Adriana Diazan, I hope I said her name right, was working as a janitor and sending money to her family in the Philippines when the wildfires destroyed everything she had. The road to rebuilding her life proved to be perilous, which I am very sorry this is happening to her. As a whirlwind of flames nearly encircled the Lahaina Gateway Shopping Center on August 8, 2023, Adriana Diazan hid in a storage room, my goodness, surrounded by mops, buckets, and brooms, terrified. Ms. Diazan, who worked 80 hours a week as a janitor, did not leave for 2 days and 2 nights. When she finally emerged, starving and disoriented, the neighborhood where she lived in was gone. She's 69 years old, wandered the charred streets for a few hours before encountering a police officer who took her to a hotel that had been turned into a shelter. Eventually, she would move into a beachfront Royal Lahaina Resort and bungalows, along with more than 1,000 of Maui's 8,000 displaced survivors. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
1 year ago, the deadliest wildfire in the United States in over a century turned Lahaina on Maui into a town of ash and ghosts. Buses still did not run in September. Streetlights did not shine. Stores left standing were shuttered. Employees and customers did not populate the Lahaina Gateway, but Diazan still showed up to her janitorial job every day to ensure, unsure of where she would eventually live. My God. Each year, millions of people in the United States are displaced from their homes because of fires, hurricanes, or other weather-related disasters, and then find themselves struggling to rebuild their lives. Nearly half of Maui's wildfire survivors lost their jobs, according to preliminary results from 679 people in the University of Hawaii study, which aims to track more than 1,000 people over the next decade. You know what they're going to tell you for that research? That the wildfires sucked, all right? Everything went terrible. 13% of survivors in the study still do not have health insurance, and 40% of households are experiencing low food security. So you have U.S. citizens starving, For Ms. Diazin, managing her livelihood became an arduous daily task undertaking that involved navigating a confusing and often uncoordinated network of organizations that provided aid, housing, and other support. The Federal Emergency Management Agency and the United Way had begun to provide services, and celebrities, oh, hey, Oprah and The Rock, right, pledging funds for fire victims. Locals also sent Venmo donation funds for families, but Ms. Diazin did not have an account. She survived the fires that killed at least 102 others. Again, I think that number's a lot higher. But what does it mean to survive when society's most vulnerable remain unprotected after a crisis? So this is just one of many survivors, one of many people. Go ahead.
We were able to highlight somebody's Venmo that got money right into families' pockets too as well. These are important things. I mean, we were able to help some people stay there, but there was not enough help coming in collectively, around there. And listen, Donald Trump once said too as well, and he talked about the truth, even though he allowed it to happen. That AOC does this too as well. We got to be about it, right? Like, yeah, you're not being about it, AOC. Donald Trump said the lockdown, sometimes the recovery process is worse than the actual virus itself. And that's what somebody had told me that in Hawaii. He says this recovery process is worse than the actual fires itself. There are people who are committing suicide. They're jumping off building. They're taking drugs, putting themselves to sleep because they don't want to live anymore. They've lost family members. They've lost their job. They've lost hope. There's no way forward for these people. At the end of the day, we have to understand something, that the recovery process and the emergency process itself, the services that were in play, they failed. The recovery process, they're failing. And it definitely seems like, Governor Josh Green, who was the keynote speaker 2 months before that fire for 15-minute sustainable cities. These people, they know that, kid. They don't hide that when you speak to them, the citizens. Right? I mean, this is when you talk about the conspiracy kind of moving into the mainstream. They know you can't hide these things. And they're very curious to what's going on. And they feel like that this has been done intentionally to get them out of there so they can turn Maui into a 15-minute sustainable city. And it almost looks as if they're hitting it right on the nose. I mean, how can you deny it? When you see these acts going on, you hear people complaining they can't stay on the island. They have to leave. It's just a shame. It really is sad because we have all this money. And this is something else a lot of the people told us too. They have all this money to send to Ukraine, but you can't help these people out over here. It's disgusting. We've turned our back and we let these people in Maui fall through the cracks. And it's a shame because we'd have liked to have found a way that we could have helped these people and helped them stay there. Like you said, kid, this is the biggest wildfire in American history. And it's got to be one of the worst disasters, recovery, and during the crisis itself in modern time as well.
And we let these people down. We let our fellow citizens down. And all what they got from Biden was a story about how his house almost caught on fire, even though it wasn't even a deadly fire at all. I will keep on following through with the story. I know, Apostle, this is close home to you because you've done a lot of work there. You did, definitely do an outreach and build a network of communications with the people of Lahaina. And I have to, first of all, thank you for your outstanding work, for at least being one of the dauntless few to actually go on the ground and talk about what is happening in Lahaina and the overall crisis that we are all facing there. And here's the thing, folks, we are all Lahaina because they were abandoned and they're U.S. citizens. Hawaii, last I checked, is a state of this great republic of ours. And yet our government abandoned its own citizens. But we've seen this happen all the time. And I do hope that, again, the communities can stay there. But the only way we can keep on, again, shining a light on this is talking about this. So we here at Heartlands Media, we are not going to forget. And I think all of you cannot forget either, because what happened to Lahaina can and very well and has happened to some other American community in this country. We're ruled over by sociopaths who will leave us. And that has to change.
Now what's you're following? That's idolatry, that's just fake. And all that wallowing that you tolerate, that's not faith. The kings of colony watched autonomy make our graves. The kings of colony know no see only rain. Now once you fall asleep, it won't bother you what they say. But the kings of colony, while they slaughter, they still complain. We say, please color me, still too solemnly, still too plain. All hail economy, praise the pharmacy, seas in flames. They're buying up Hawaii, and the smoke's not even cleared. Those vultures smelled the fire and an enterprise appeared. Investment opportunities where melted down communities leave vacant space BlackRock has been lusting for years. The council meets in private and they don't discuss survivors. Concerns among construction groups are all Lahaina hears. They'll wander through your city with this mocking sword of pity next to Oprah and her camera crew who tore the Trail of Tears, where footage flows as freely as the stream of liquid steel and the pools of pure aluminum that trickle down your wheels. And Biden's here to say he knows exactly how it feels, cause he had a kitchen fire once and had to miss a meal. And people still believe that piece of shit deserves your vote, like he's not why supplies are being smuggled in by boat, like he's not why our citizens were forced to stay and roast. And he can't unfreeze your funding, folks, cause Azov needs it most. I'll bet my every dollar Biden watched it with a smile. I'll bet he knows the whereabouts of every missing child. He's just the kind of man who lives to trample something tribal, collecting culture's corpses just to throw them on the pile. Like he and all his buddies didn't dream about the day when those who dared defy the donor class were cleared away, when home insurance triples and you can't afford to stay, and your land falls to the hands of those whose windfall fanned the flames. The state will take Lahaina and they'll bastardize its name, and tourism will swarm it all the same. You see, the state we left Lahaina shows the ground rules of the game, the planes that in the night ignite the planes. And if questions raised that reckon the potential use of lasers, I suggest you take a closer shave by way of Occam's razor. And if those civilians stood between this country and its gains, then there's really nothing further to explain. Because you may know this already, if you truly know our past, but it ain't the first occasion and it will not be the last where Americans are kettled in and made to bear the blast, are barricaded in and left for ash. How many in Lahaina now are lying there awake and still can hear the city we left leveled in our wake? They still hear all the people that we let the fire take, instructed from above to stay in place. So look to the horizon, cause a fire comes for you. Desire made incarnate of the power-hungry few who instructed the police to not let anybody through, to barricade them in, and so they do.